Human beings have a tendency to want to push the boundaries of what we can explore, from traveling the skies to the depths of the ocean. While some of us are perfectly happy staying out of harm's way if we can help it, others are more bound for a treacherous lifestyle. In this case, a diver who went where he was told not to go. Let's talk about the strange disappearance of Ben McDaniel. McDaniel had been diving since he was 15 years old, mostly in the freshwater Vortex Spring near his parents' beach home. Vortex Spring is a popular location for both experienced and novice divers located in Ponce de Leon, Florida. The site also has campgrounds, picnic areas, volleyball and basketball courts, canoeing, paddle boating, and fishing. The spring is also known to have an underwater cave that is restricted to experienced cave divers only, usually covered up with a gate to stop anyone else from entering. Ben McDaniel was born into a wealthy family in 1980. In the late 2000s, he had been dealing with a tough time. His marriage had just failed, his construction business had tanked, and he owed $50,000 to the IRS and state. Worst of all, he was grieving from the loss of his younger brother Paul, who had died in 2008 of a stroke when he was only 22. Ben had found him unconscious in the family home and tried to revive him to no avail. His parents wanted to help and suggested Ben take a sabbatical at their family beach house while they supported him financially. He accepted the offer and moved into the house April of 2010. Ben had big dreams of becoming a diving instructor and getting certified to do cave dives. However, on the day he went to explore the Vortex Spring Cave, he was not certified. Other divers saw him inspecting the area around the cave as if he was planning something. After resurfacing, he got his tank refilled at the dive shop. He spent the rest of the afternoon around the spring recording in his dive logs. That evening, he would take one more dive down to the restricted cave. This wasn't the first time Ben had ignored the rules. Employees had seen him regularly force open the cave gate in order to explore where he wasn't supposed to. This time, however, he never returned. 2 days went by when someone noticed Ben's truck was still sitting in the parking lot. Police were called to the scene where they discovered Ben's wallet and $700 it contained in the truck. Diving equipment he had rented was not present in the truck since he hadn't returned, and there was no sign of a struggle. Back at his house, they found his underfed dog and came to the conclusion that he'd never resurfaced and had drowned in the cave trying to get out. Divers were called to the rescue and scoured every crevasse of the cave, thinking he may have gotten into a tight space in a panic when his tanks ran low, a pattern found in other cave dive deaths. However, after a weekend-long search, they were unable to find Ben. They did, however, locate 2 tanks near the entrance of the cave that had belonged to him. Divers usually have extra tanks for decompression and leave them along the route in order to follow them out. It was unusual that Ben had left them at the entrance of the cave, and weirder still that the tested material inside them was just air, not the special mixture of gases Ben would have used had he been researching the cave like his parents said he was. On August 22nd, diving expert Ed Sorensen arrived at Vortex to explore where others were too afraid to go. They warned him that it was a dangerous trip, but he liked the challenge and wanted to find Ben. He made 3 separate trips further into the cave. He found no body or evidence that anyone had traveled as far in as he did. There's no way, he declared, that Ben is still in that cave. Ben's parents didn't want to believe Ed's verdict and hired the man who originally mapped the Vortex Cave to search. He and 16 other divers found absolutely nothing, and this was when theories started to arise. Divers who had found nothing believed that Ben wasn't in the cave, that he had been washed out by the current or had not gone in at all. Some thought that he had faked his death to avoid the amount of debt he'd built up. Police conducted 30 tests in the water for decomposition, and they all came up negative. Cadaver dogs were used to search the wooded area surrounding the vortex spring and still came up empty. All answers pointed to Ben just vanishing, but his parents continued to press on. They offered a $10,000 reward for divers who could find their son, and over time increased the reward to $20,000 and $30,000, but this was coming at a greater price. Divers were risking their own lives in an attempt to find Ben and gain the reward, till one Larry Higginbotham died in an attempt to locate him. Afterwards, the parents removed the reward, feeling it was putting other divers at risk. The next step of suspicion rested on the park's owner, Lowell Kelly. Ben's parents thought he might have been murdered at Vortex, and Lowell wasn't all that clean. He pled no contest to some charges against him involving beating an employee that owed him money. He was to serve 7 years of probation for this, but never even served one. Lowell had sustained a head injury when he fell down some stairs at a chili cook-off at the Vortex. After being taken home, he was found comatose the next morning. A month later, he died. One last investigation came from cave diver Jill Heinerth, who traveled to Vortex to make a short film documentary and show it to the McDaniels in hopes to give them closure as well as demonstrate how dangerous cave diving can be. She discovered during her trip Ben's dive logs and a map of the cave he had made. It proved that he did indeed get further into the cave than previously thought, and she stated it was possible that he was in there after all. The documentary titled Ben's Vortex was released in 2012. To this day, nobody knows what happened to Ben, but a lot of people think they do. But what do you think? Is his body still in the depths of the cave? Did he owe a deadly debt to the wrong people? Or did he just up and leave town? Thanks so much for watching. If you have a case you'd like me to cover, leave it in the comments below within the first few days of this video up, or IM me on Twitter. For those of you who want me to do more harsh, controversial cases, keep in mind that YouTube does automatically demonetize those, so I'll be spreading them out a little bit more. Until next time, be well.